Well, today's video is going to highlight using our data exploration template. Once students get practicing in Animal's data set, we want to transition them to using their skills into a different data set, if at all possible, because this is super important to gain their engagement. Right? It just ups their engagement in the class. If they can go to a data set, especially one of their choosing, something in their interest level, you will see the engagement go sky high in the class. But it doesn't always have to be that way. We just have a few options here that we note in the data exploration lesson. One option is, well, maybe in your class, you would just need one data set that the whole class uses. That's all that's doable with the time constraints you have, or the kind of student body that you have, or the time that they come in and out, how many days you have them. And so we have offered this global food supply data set that you could use, and the whole class could do it. Here is a sample of what it looks like. There's a Pirates file for it, and there's all the different fields that are in it. Let me move my face out of the way for you, but there's fields here and the things that they can look at. And we've got different things that you could do, data cycle questions on that, and some stuff that we'll offer there, getting students to apply some of the things that they have learned just in a different data set, so they get away from the animals for just a bit. Okay, but you can also take them to our library of data sets. We have a large library of data sets with a large range of topics, and letting them choose one of those. And so let's go take a look at that. There's everything from the environment, politics, sports, entertainment. You know, those kids love the Pokemon and the music and things like that. There's education. A lot of the high school kids love to look at the college majors and things like that. Nutrition, fast food, soda. I've had kids be in all kinds of these data sets, but we have the starter files and the data sets already cleaned and ready to go for you on that. So letting them choose one of those is a second option. Third option, and this is if you're adventurous, is to let the students find and clean and import their own data. And for this, we have a tutorial video that's very short, and you can watch it, the students can watch it, and learn how to import that spreadsheet into a Pirate starter file, of which we have a blank one of those. So just in the Choosing Your Data Set lesson, you will find a link to this video that Emmanuel has created. It's very clear, very easy, very step-by-step how to import your data into this blank Pirate starter file, and you will see here that they've got some highlighted things that just tells you what to replace. That actually is pretty cool for students who have something very specific and they don't find it in that list. And if you're game for that, there is also a lesson of cleaning your data and what that means to do. And in the video, Emmanuel talks about what it means to make sure your data is clean so that it will run in Pirate. The fourth thing we just say here is going back to that list that I showed you, the data set library. We have starred a few. This is probably in the way. Here it says there's a shorter list. They have stars in front of them. And there's just a couple down here, as you'll see, movies and Rhode Island schools. Those that are starred may be good for beginner data sets. So if you're just wanting to say, well, let me see, just give a few shorter lists, they would be ones that we would have starred. Okay. All right, so students have their now different data set. Well, however model that it works best in your classroom, what do? So what we need to do next is go to this data exploration project slide template, and they will click on it, and it will help them make a copy of this, and they'll save it to their drive, and begin just to explore it and familiarize themselves with it and start filling in some of their pages. So again, sorry if I'm taking you back and forth here, but when they get their copy, it will look something like this, and you'll see a lot of blue text. We're going to talk about that, but it gives them examples of the questions here, what they're to do with their data set, And then they could see what it's filled in with the animals data set. And you can see some examples when they're going to put in some charts. There's some blank places for them to put theirs. But the blue text is just telling them, giving them instructions or giving them examples, and then they can delete that part. But it's fill it in with their data. Okay? They could start filling in their data set, the parts about their data set, and begin to get going on that. Okay? Here's just a blown up section from one of their, how many rows does it have, what do they represent. You've already taught them about categorical quantitative columns and the data types, and so here's where they give the example of what it would look like for animals. Now go into your data set and fill that in, and then delete the blue stuff when they're done. We also provide you rubrics if you wish to adapt. You could adapt the rubrics into your own that work for you, but they're out there for you to click on. Students will, this is the best part. As students work and begin to do the data cycle questions and put in some graphs that they get, now they have a place to store them. And what they do is they go into that template, and you saw those real quick. I went through, there's blank areas where they can put a bar chart, a pie chart, a histogram. This one here is one of the image histograms that a student had made. They make sure that they put it in, and they add the pirate code in their interpretations and put it there and store it, right? Now, as they go along, this is like acting as a scratch paper, if you will, for them, or a draft for their report. As they find stuff and as they do their interpretation, they're putting it in. So that way, when they come down to the end and need to do a report, they're not starting from ground zero. They have a lot of stuff already thought through, and they have their stuff. They just can copy. If you require them to do a final slideshow or a final report on paper, they could copy paste from this, or they could take this and embellish it, if you will, or you can have them just turn this in. It all depends on the time and the level of activity you want to be, time that you want to put to this in your class. One thing that I do also mention when we're training this in coaching sessions is that students might want to replace some of these as their questions evolve, as they're studying and researching, and they go, oh, that kind of graph doesn't really fit what I'm doing anymore. That's okay, that's okay. Then get rid of that one and replace it with a new histogram that now does answer the research question you've been getting into. And as you saw, as I briefly went through it, there are additional sections in there. There's correlations, finding relationships between two variables. What additional questions did you have of your data set? And, that measures of center, they could fill in mean, median, modes of one of their quantitative variables that they were researching. And if you do standard deviation or any of that, place for that to go. And then there was a nice checklist. So as they put their displays in, they could check them off and make sure they have them. But you can edit this template to just be a guide for the students, however you wish for them to fill it in. If you want to not have everything in it that we have in it, then edit it and then give them a link to copy on their own. But it's there for you to use to get the students engaged in another data set and excited about data science in a different way. That is a great project to do in the classroom, and I highly recommend it.